Secretary of State. So, this is a little rant I just wanted to get rid of because I was asked about it today, and several other people have pointed that out. And the sooner we get, people who know something about foreign affairs and maybe have served in the military, and that would be helpful, Any of these people served in the military? Well, Kerry did. But, driving a ship or a boat up the Mekong doesn't make you a strategic thinker, At least he went to Vietnam. But, for anybody in any situation of power, to talk about a unbelievably small war in the Middle East is crazy, out of his gourd. And now we know, because Cy Hirsch has uncovered it, that it wasn't an unbelievably small war, was it? What was it? We were shocking off number 2. Our military doesn't do unbelievably small wars, no matter what Kerry might say. They were going in there big time, B-52s, B-2s from White Man Air Force Base in Missouri. How does that look to the rest of the world? The Missourians are very proud. I was out there 2 weeks ago. Very proud of White Man Air Force Base. We have these stealth bombers, and they drop a lot of bombs on a lot of people. Well, maybe without further ado, we'll turn to my first little thing. It's a 5-minute clip. It's relevant to today. It's relevant to Ukraine. I think it's relevant to Shako Bottom. And just like you to see what was filmed here, including the commander of U.S. forces, for those who are too young to remember. His name was General William Westmoreland. I met him first when he was the commandant at West Point. I was up there for a seminar. And man, you couldn't find a more attractive, bemedaled, super guy. And he became commander of our forces in Vietnam. Turned out not so well, as you know. And after the war, he was interviewed at the end of this. If we could start that and maybe turn that.
Many bombs, many coffins. These are for children. 800 or 900 of them. I have lost
Anybody know
7
how to
children
make the
myself.
volume louder?
Many have died here. Though it's nothing like in the countryside.
You need the
Many
lights
more
on?
have died there. In the countryside, there's no money to buy them.
I'm sorry, that's maximum.
How did all the children die? Poison.
Which Colin Powell spoke? Did you catch that? Pardon?
January 2000.
Actually, February 22nd. It was kind of blurry. February 22nd, 2001. Okay? And Condoleezza Rice, did they say?
July.
July, right. Actually, it was July 30th. So, let's see, July 30th, August, so about 6 weeks before, 6 weeks before
9/11.
9/11, right, okay.
About 1 week after Colin Powell would give him $43 million in cash to the Taliban.
So, you've heard, and you can complete the sentence for me because you've heard it a million times, well, maybe not a million, but 1,000 times. After 9/11, everything changed, all right, you guys are good, all right? So, whereas before 9/11, Saddam Hussein had no weapons of mass destruction and was not a threat even to his immediate neighbors, after 9/11, 2 weeks after, all of a sudden, weapons of mass destruction descended from the heavens like manna for a soft landing on the soil of Iraq, where God made that terrible mistake of putting our oil. Now, there's an interesting point here. That came out of a documentary done by John Pilger, a British-Australian documentary maker. He came and interviewed me for the documentary, and when he sent me the advance copy, I saw this for the first time. Now, I thought that I kept pretty close watch on what was said before the war, But this was news to me. And I said, John, where'd you get that footage? Where'd you get that footage of Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell before 9/11? He says, Ray, he says, any responsible journalist would do what I did. I asked for the tapes of all their interviews for the previous 2 years. I went into a booth. My friends feared for my sanity, but I listened to them all, I watched them all, and I found them. It just took me 2 days. Now I'm thinking, wow. I mean, there are some press people here. You have LexisNexis. You wouldn't have to go into a booth to watch those videotapes. You just Powell and Rice and WMD and all that stuff. Can you believe that no American journalist did any research as to what these guys said, what this guy and this woman said before 9/11? No, I rather think they did, and they were prevented from publishing it, or they self-censored, which is the name of the game these days. So, what I'd like to do is get this next one up, just as let me explain it first. This is Michael Hayden. Now, these are real lies. I mean, these are a whole bunch of lies. Now, Michael Hayden was head of the NSA from 99 to 2005, something like that. And so he was the fellow that Dick Cheney called into his office and said, General Hayden, you're head of, he's an Air Force general, you're head of NSA, and I've heard that there's a first commandment out there. Your first commandment, thou shalt not eavesdrop on Americans without a court warrant. Yes, sir. Well, forget about it. Forget about it. Now, this was before 9/11, folks. Before 9/11. Now, granted, this monitoring, this bulk collection, went on steroids after 9/11, but Cheney suborned this Air Force officer, general, to go out to the telecons out in San Francisco and elsewhere and do backdoor stuff. And they were reading all that stuff before 9/11. That's an important point. Anyhow, Hayden says, yes, sir, I'll do that. And by doing that, he violated his oath to the Constitution, which many of us took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. 2 previous NSA directors said he should have been, well, one said he should have been court-martialed. That was, I'll remember his name in a second, Bobby Ray Inman, who was actually present at the creation of the FISA law, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act law, which prohibited this kind of thing. He gave remarks to the New York Public Library in early May of 2006, and he said what Hayden did clearly violated the law. I mean, there's no way that an NSA general could authorize that. And I know because I helped craft that law when I was head of NSA, and actually I put an extra sentence in there which says nothing is permitted to be done here if it's not explicitly permitted in this law. So yeah, he broke the law. James Risen was there, and a couple other people in the New York Public Library. No real publicity except one blogger, okay, friend of mine. So I got that story, and I'm thinking, wow, that's good. Here's 2 NSA officials. The other guy's name I'll remember in a second, but they're saying one says he should be court-martialed, and the other, Bill Odom is his name, O-D-O-M, Army officer, Army 3-star, who had elected. He was a very, very right-wing, really, opinionated person on attitudes toward the Soviet Union, that kind of thing, but he had integrity, which is not in large supply in Washington. Anyhow, he said that Hayden should be court-martialed. Well, there's another little chapter to this story where I had a front row seat, and that is, we're talking May of 2006. My little debate with Rumsfeld was on May the 4th, and what's the name of that TV personality who...
The White House Correspondents' Center?
No, that was earlier. Lou Dobbs. Lou Dobbs. he calls me up and said, you know, I'd like to come up to New York and interview about what you did to Donald Rumsfeld. I said, well, I did to Donald, well, you know, you're from. So I'm up there again, I'm waiting in the green room, and I'm ready to go on with Lou Dobbs. Door opens, in sweeps Bobby Ray Inman, 4-star admiral, most widely respected intelligence senior officer that the country has had, okay? He comes rushing in, some lady comes out, puts a tie on him, and I knew that General Hayden was up for confirmation as to be head of the CIA the next day. And I'm thinking, oh, this is great! All that has to happen is Bobby Ray Inman say what he said at the New York Public Library, and Hayden is appropriately dissed, right? So I'm watching the tube.
You said CIA after he was director of the NSA.
He was NSA. Well, he was both, actually. Yeah, head of the NSA, and then, well, this was the day before his confirmation hearing to be head of the CIA. Okay. So I'm watching the tube there, and I'm a little resenting that Bobby Ray Inman has taken some of my time with Lou Dobbs, you know. But what? And Lou Dobbs says, "Well, Admiral Inman, what do you think of General Hayden as a prospective director of Central Intelligence?" And Bobby Ray Inman said, "Oh, you couldn't pick a better person. He is incredibly smart. He's just he's up on all the technical things. He's got integrity. He's got all. Couldn't have picked a better person." I'm looking at that. I say, holy, you know? And he comes out, and I went at him, I said, Bobby, for God's sake, why didn't you say what you told the people in the New York Public Library just 1 week ago? He ran out. And I would have ran after him if, you know, if he had already eaten up 3 minutes of my time, so I went and got my time with Lou Dobbs, you know, who made a very curious interview. We only had about 5 minutes, at the end of which, after he asked about Rumsfeld, he says, people say you're anti-Semitic. Out of the blue. What do you say to that? And I forget what I said. I said, where'd you get that? Oh, that's what they're saying. So, you know, you never know how they're going to sideswipe you or what they're going to ask you. Anyhow, so what I'm saying here, so this was General Hayden after James Risen revealed that General Hayden had broken every rule in the book, not only the first commandment out at NSA, thou shalt not eavesdrop on Americans without a court warrant, and the Fourth Amendment, which says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, homes, papers and effects, things, shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue save upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the things or persons to be seized, period, end quote. Probable cause. So, how do you justify collecting all the telephone conversations and all the emails on all of us? You don't look like terrorists, but I suppose, you know, you can't exclude the possibility we got a bunch of terrorists here, you know. Oh, yep, see, they're pointing at each other. You know something? See something, say something. So, you know, on the face of it, this bulk collection is against the Fourth Amendment. And when Ed Snowden saw what he was an accomplice in, he said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to let the American people know. So here is General Hayden, right after it was divulged that